All right, so I got a 1984 Chevy Blazer with a 2.8 liter V6 carbureted. This thing sat for 20 years, so a lot of stuff was just not so great on the carb and the vacuum and just everything. So I decided to get the Weber redline. It's like K490 kit, and you take off your original, which was a huge challenge. I took the top part of it off here. It's just like a bunch of like Torx bits, and then the bottom part was like impossible to get to the studs because there's something above each one of them. So that was no fun. I had to take off a bunch of stuff, coil pack and this and that, and just like get it like quarter turn at a time. But anyways, so the kit, the Weber kit, you know, comes with instructions. I mean, maybe other people can understand them, but I can understand what they're talking about. This thing only has a few fittings. The one fitting here, so this is passenger side, it's a barbed fitting. That they said would go to the brake booster, but mine already has a dedicated line coming off the intake and then going up to the booster there. So I didn't use it, so I just plugged it. I just stuck a nut on there, temporary. We'll find something a little prettier, a little cap down the road. But so that's what that one is for. The next one is in the very front. It's just a tiny little one. I think it'd be like a quarter. And so you run that vacuum line over, and then if your distributor has the little vacuum advance like this one does, it's just like a little diaphragm vacuum timing advance, so you'll hook that to there. If you were keeping your old system and it's already hooked into everything else, then really you could just plug that. You know, you wouldn't need it. But I figured since I'm getting rid of all of my vacuum, I would go ahead and just use the one off of the carb. Just makes more sense. Let's see what's next. So over here on this side, you got this barbed fitting up top, kind of running in an angle here. And that is your float vent. So if you had like there's a canister down there, there's like that canister, and so it would vent into that. Everything vents into that, and then I believe it all comes back and goes into the intake. I'm not doing any of that stuff, so this hose here, I just ran it down for the moment just as a vent. Then you've got the fuel line, and that's this one right here. It's not barbed, it's actually a nipple. And so this is something that I didn't know when I got the kit, but this thing runs a mechanical lift pump, and I believe it pushes more than 3 psi, and this carb can really only handle around 3 psi, otherwise it'll flood it out and overflow, all that kind of stuff. So what you have to do is you get a hard line here. I just temporarily clamped on and went straight to it, but you're supposed to either take the hard line off and have another one made with a nipple. I'm sure you could just cut part of this and just, you know, put like 2 or 3 hose clamps on it, slide it on there. I'm sure that would be fine for, you know, 5 psi. But what you need is a pressure regulator. They're like 25 bucks on Amazon. It just tees into this thing, and then they recommend a inline filter, you know, just make sure it's heading in the right direction. But so basically, once I got this kit, I think it was like 550 bucks, something like that. I have to get a pressure regulator, a filter. I might have to do something with this hard line. I've got to kind of clean some things up because the way it is right now, it's just enough to get it outside. It's like 20 below, and this is my wife's spot, so I need to, whether this thing runs great or not, and I just fired it up for the first time. It started, so I'm going to go ahead and start it, put it outside, and then when my regulator comes in, I'll set this on. Let's see, the only electrical piece is here. You got an electric choke, and you end up disconnecting a few things. This thing was like some moisture sensor that was part of the base plate gasket, and then here it's just a one prong, and you have to extend this one prong, and they give you like a little bit of wire, but I mean, gee whiz, like if you're hard up for 6 inches of wire, I don't know, you got bigger problems. So they provide something, but you put it whatever you want on there. I did fire up and run instantly. It sounded good, but I've still got a ways to go, and then hopefully I can get this thing needs a couple other little things, but after sitting for 20 years, I'd like to get it back on the road because it's in pretty good shape. It didn't really have a whole lot going wrong with it. So anyways, hope that helps with the carb, because I couldn't find a lot of videos on YouTube or anything, and like I say, the instructions, they don't even tell you what the barbs are or nothing. You just read it, and reading it's pretty hard to tell what was what. So all right, good luck.